Well, I'll tell you what, this little town here, actually, what you see now was a little town called South Superior. It was mostly Tyrolean. The mayor, Bertinoli, the city council, Janetti, Prevedel, Telk, they were all Tyroleans. And when I was growing up here, I thought the world was Tyrolean until I left and I found out, hey, guess what? There aren't many Tyroleans in other places, but here it was heavy. I don't know how many, but it was heavy.
This is my mother's passport from 1928. It came from Venice. I guess they had a consul there. My dad came to America in 1921, and my mother was born here in Rock Springs. Her father was a coal miner here.
My father came from Claus in the Trento area. My mother was born in Rock Springs, but her family was from Brez in that country.
Year-wise, I don't know. He came over real young, 14? No? 16? We have the person over here with all the facts, and you know, but he was pretty young when he came over.
Ah, okay.
And my grandmother was a little older when she came over, but still pretty young.
Quando sono arrivata a Superio, guardavo in giro e ho pensato, oh mamma mia, dove sono mai andata? Ma lui, mio marito, mi aveva detto che non è bello e to be prepared, che non è come la via. Ma non ho detto più niente, no. Ormai ero qui, bisognava stare.
Mama used to say that when she had to pay somebody for nothing, she would just put a bunch of coins in the palm of her hand, and then put out her hand, and whoever needed the money for something would just pick the money out of her hand. But when she did get to Rock Springs, I think she cried. She cried for days. It was really not too good then. You know, Rock Springs didn't have trees or nothing green. And there's a lot of desert around Rock Springs. So even on the train, she couldn't see trees or flowers or nothing. Well, it was December, but she did expect to see trees at least, you know. But it was very hard for her.
You probably know they call this the town of 57 nationalities. Yes, they're all, and a lot of people came from foreign countries here. I guess the work. That's the only thing I can think of, is they sure didn't come for the beauty of the place, even though I think it's beautiful, but A lot of people think it's too much like a desert, you know.
The tracks were right here. You see here, the tracks? And they came up right through here. You can see up there where the coal from, you know, from clear to the back, the coal came up from underground and went in this part. And in this part there were the screens, and then here, here is where they dumped it. Because as you go on the other side, you can see the dumps there. Well, it was totally mechanized. Everything was machinery. They had big machines that cut the coal like this and put it on the belt. They had machines that cut coal, and then they would put dynamite in and blow it up, and then these machines would come in, big machines, and load it. And so this mine, that's why it was so productive, because very little was done by hand. It was all with machines.
Well, it's a very dirty job. I know because we lived next to the bathhouse, and the miners wouldn't even go home. They had to go into this bathhouse to wash, and it was very dangerous work, very dangerous, and you had to go down, you know, and they had little cars to take them down inside of the mine for miles and miles underground. And sometimes they'd blast, you know, for the coal to break it loose. And I know when the alarm would go off, everybody would go up to the mines to see who was hurt or killed. And a lot of miners were killed.
This mine closed probably in about 1955. And it was one of their good producers during the war, and they built a new tipple. The tipple is where the coal comes out of the mine and it's put into the coal cars. And that's what remains here. They've preserved it. The one tipple of the Union Pacific Coal Company that's intact.
On Reliance, there was Sand Camp, Middle Camp, Number 1 Camp, and where my dad lived when they first came here, they called it the ranch, because it was so far out, I guess, I don't know. But they just all had camps, and here in Rock Springs it was Number 3 Camp, Number 4 Camp, Number 2. They were named for the mines. The mines were Number 1, Number 2, Number 3, but they called them camps.
Era difficile imparare l'inglese e in superiore non ne ho imparato tanto, no. Le ho imparato qui a Rosprin.
Perché a Superior non ha imparato?
Come?
Come mai a Superior non ha mai...
Perché tutti parlavano italiano.
Ah,
Allora non era bisogno per me di imparare inglese, no?
I remember that the people always, they were so close. All the people that had come from the Val d'Anon, very close, helping each other. They used to have dances. I can remember going to the dances with my parents, and my sister and I would fall asleep somewhere in a corner. And then they went on a lot of picnics out in the country. They would, on Sundays, they would go out in the country and cook polenta over an open fire and always get together. They were always finding ways to join each other in something fun.
I don't really remember anybody besides Italians there. Any other, well, I know there were, but it just seemed like such an Italian world. Like they formed a really tight group, and I think, and my cousin Bill mentioned this too, I think it was just a different time, and it was a real a lot of freedom. The kids did lots of different things. There wasn't such a tightness about culture or society as there is today. And that might not be just a Superior thing, but I don't know, I just think it was a very good community to grow up in for our fathers, and it was a very nice place to be.
Well, the club was started 27 years ago. Father Bonifacio came to Rock Springs with Eugene Pellegrini, and they met with Sulo and Amelia Hill and Buddy Como and a few other people, and they decided to start one here because we had so many Trentini people who lived here. I got involved maybe a year later, right after they had one meeting to see if there was an interest, then they had a meeting to organize, and that's the meeting I joined, where I joined the club. A long time. And we try to keep active. We have about 4 to 6 socials a year. We always have a polenta festa. We always have a Christmas party. We always have a picnic and a bocce ball tournament. And then we have, sometimes we have like Mardi Gras party, or we have a lot of food demonstrations where we learn how to make things like cannelloli or antipasto. And then we have games. We've try to find some old tombola, different Italian games where we can teach members how to do that. So we try to have 4 to 6 socials a year. Some of them just for fun, but some of them to learn a little bit more about our culture, about our history.
We were poor, but everybody was, so we didn't know that we were poor. But we always had plenty of food to eat, and you know, I was during the Depression, and so, but it was a happy life. It was a good life. Families were closer, and the neighbors and children. I had a very, very nice childhood, very happy.